Hello and welcome to another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. I think we'd all agree that a community's greatest asset is its children. And yet today, parents and educators are overly concerned, and rightfully so, about the sedentary lifestyle that many children lead. Childhood obesity in the United States now is at 17%. Today, we're going to be talking with William Neary and Peter Bilton of Keep Middlesex Moving, who have a wonderful program that's designed to be able to help our children not only walk to school, but also stay more active within the community much more safely. Bill, Peter, welcome to the Wellness Spotlight.
Thank you.
Thanks
for being here.
It's great to have you here. So, Bill, tell us, what is Keep Middlesex Moving all about?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people somehow think we're a moving company or a moving vans. We actually are a Transportation Management Association, nonprofit, private nonprofit who gets a lot of support from businesses, from government, to try and provide ways with alternative transportation modes. We want people to think beyond driving a car by themselves when it's time to go someplace. So we have a large database of carpoolers and ride sharing. We work with businesses to provide van pools for their employees. We promote mass transit. And we also walk on the other alternative modes, which is why I think you want us here is for the wellness part, is the bicycle and pedestrian issues. Safety, programs that inspire people to provide the exercise they need, to get outdoors on a day, when the weather's nice, you want to go outside. It's good to have those kind of facilities. So KMM, for 25 years now, has been working to make those kind of ideas into people's head and alternative transportation modes that they can actually utilize.
And what's the history behind Keep Middlesex Moving?
I guess back when it was first started, there was legislation that was passed that required companies to start reducing their footprint, their carbon footprint. And so the initial impetus was for them to find local agencies that could help with the car sharing and the ride sharing. It's kind of morphed into different things as time has gone on, to different programs that we have. But at the same time, it was the concept of congestion mitigation and air quality relief. That was the concept. And New Jersey is the only state that has a Transportation Management Association covering the entire state. We cover Middlesex County, that's our territory. But there's 7 other organizations just like us. In most places, a Transportation Management Agency or association is located only in the urban areas. New York City, Seattle, Atlanta, it's only in the urban areas. Here we have such a diverse population. We've worked it out to all kinds of different areas.
And are you working with other towns inside Middlesex County as well as East Brunswick?
Oh, absolutely. We work all the towns, all 25 communities, and we work with the county, we work with the state, and we work with literally hundreds of businesses.
How are things going?
We're moving. We're moving. I mean, there's always different things that people have. Some of the towns are very active right now in pedestrian safety. In Monroe Township, we do a lot of sessions about senior pedestrian safety. Johnson & Johnson's having their Green Fair next week, and we're going to have a big presentation there. The theme of Johnson & Johnson this year is alternative transportation. So I can go through a list of things, Ken, that last every day of the week, but there's things that we're doing. We have a nice staff over in New Brunswick, and I think we do a great job.
Thank you. Peter, thank you for joining us today also.
Thank you.
Now, you are the Safe Routes to School coordinator.
That's right.
Before we talk about that, just give us a little bit of your own background and experience.
Well, I'm a transportation planner, and I'm a New Jersey native. I've worked in a number of different places, from Rutgers University to the private sector to transportation management associations like this. And I've worked on this program for several years, but just for the past 2 years at Keep Middlesex Moving.
And what is the Safe Routes to School program all about?
Well, Safe Routes to School is about making it safer and easier for children to walk and bike to school. And that really gets down to making it safer from a traffic safety perspective, and encouraging people who do live within walking distance of school to make the choice. And that's encouraging their parents, because the parents are making those decisions for the children, to give them, to start building a lifelong habit of exercise.
In addition to exercise, what are some of the other issues that the program is trying to address?
Well, there are other benefits to more walking and less drop-offs and driving to school. All those cars create traffic in the school neighborhood, and that creates air pollution, and it also slows down traffic and can lead to more accidents. So it helps reduce those issues as well. And I think it creates more of a sense of community. The students who are walking to school, whether with their families or as a group, they get to know their neighbors, they get to know their neighborhood, and they gain valuable skills in learning how to walk around their neighborhood safely.
Excuse me, there's also been some studies about academic performance based upon the children who walk also. So
That's right. There was a recent study that showed that children who walked to school and got more physical activity during the school day actually got better grades.
I'm not surprised about that. Exercise is part of a healthier lifestyle anyway. That's great. I know a lot of parents complain that their kids are always sitting around on the computer, watching TV. But very few kids walk to school these days, so this is a terrific program, and I'm glad you guys are spearheading it.
well, it's a program that actually comes from a federal government, the Transportation Transportation Act, Reauthorization Act, and there is large amounts of money available through the state programs for infrastructure repairs. If a municipality wants to improve sidewalks or an intersection, there's grants available. Our role is the education part, and the part we work on is working with the municipalities who really want to apply for those bigger grants and also use our services and Peter's competence to really show people how to do this. There's different parts of the program that he can talk about that really makes it work, not just a matter of saying, okay, kids, go walk to school. There's more to that than that.
How do you determine what a safe route to school should be? What are some of the things that are taken into consideration?
Well, the presence of sidewalks is certainly one. The quality of the street crossing, the signals, and whether they're set up for crossing the street, the amount of traffic, are some of the things that go into consideration. And in some cases, there are designated routes to school where we work with a police department to figure out which is the safest route to recommend. And in other cases, we're simply encouraging families who live in the school neighborhood to walk on whatever route they feel is the best.
When I was a kid growing up, I'd get kicked out of the house in the morning, and my mom would say, go to school.
Well, it was 20 miles both ways in the snow. I remember that.
That's right, me too. And we just tried to take the shortest, most direct route there, and if that meant getting a soak or crossing the stream or whatever, that's what happened.
No, my memories of elementary school, I think, was as much walking to school and coming home as whatever happened in the classroom in a lot of ways. There was a lot of fun about that. That was when you were like in 4th and 5th grade. It's the only chance you had actually to be totally independent and free for a little while. You know what I mean? It gave you that freedom.
So
in developing a safe route, how do you get this information out to the general public?
Well, mostly we work with the schools directly, and the towns are very important for helping us to make that contact with the schools and to look at the routes, because the towns are in charge of their local roads and the schools are in charge of dismissal and arrival policies. So they really have to work together. But it's working closely with the school principals and the PTAs to determine what type of program to encourage walking to school makes sense for that school. Not all schools have the same types of infrastructure and neighborhood that makes it easy to walk to school.
What would you say within Middlesex County is one of the best towns for the Safe Routes to School program?
I would say a couple years ago we probably weren't, but then we got Peter Bilton, okay, and I think that's made a big difference. I think we've got some really inroads in some of the schools. There is always some resistance because you're not sure what it's all about, and people have concerns. But I think over the past couple of years we have a walk to school day that occurs in the fall, which isn't part of this program, but it inspires some other stuff. And I think we use that as a stepping off point. It was October, we had, potentially 5,000 kids walking to school that day?
Yeah.
And a lot of the towns really participated. And I think the awareness of what the concept of safe routes, and like you said earlier, Ken, about looking back, is really something that's really taken us to the next level. And I think with Peter's efforts and working directly and reaching out, we do it with letters, emails, phone calls, and any contact we have. East Brunswick's been really stepping up to the plate over the last couple of years too, and I think it's been really, really good for us.
Now, the money that's available for the towns, how is that money spent in addition to fixing sidewalks and roads? What else does it pay for?
Well, that's a separate grant program. That's the infrastructure grants.
Okay.
And that would pay for even signalization or whatever a town thinks is necessary that they can apply for that grant. It's a very competitive grant. The smaller amount of the grants, the education part that we work with, basically pays for our marketing materials and our staffing. We don't charge the towns anything, so they're getting our services at no cost and no charge. And it's you want to talk about the Golden Sneaker Award, that's something that I think is pretty interesting that we're working on too.
So we're working with 2 schools in East Brunswick right now on a Golden Sneaker Award program. The way that works is the homerooms in the school in certain grades compete against each other to see which classroom has the most walking over a month, and then they get an incentive or award. And the classroom that has the most amount of walking gets to actually keep the Golden Sneaker Award and display it in their classroom. And we made the award. Other TMAs in New Jersey have done this program as well. And this program, we adopted it. It's nationally known. We actually went out and spray painted some sneakers gold and mounted them on a plaque and gave them to the schools so they could do that. And that's being done at Central School and at Lawrenceburg School. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
And how do you gauge how many miles these kids walk? Do they all get pedometers?
In some other schools, yes. And one school in Woodbridge is using pedometers that we provided. In East Brunswick, the 2 schools didn't feel like they were ready to start strongly promoting walking to school, but they already had programs they were interested in starting about walking during recess to encourage the students who had that free time to not make it passive time, but to go on a walking club around the school, for example, and something they could do inside the school hallways even during the winter. So they track their participation in that through the classroom aides.
We work with phys ed people, we work with school nurses. Basically, anybody who looks at the wellness concept of exercise and walking and has a what we call the hero, the person who can stand up to the plate and say, okay, we want that for either our school, our district, whatever we can do. We'll try to work with them and try and fit into the program. We've been really lucky in some of the communities where the police department takes the lead, especially with bicycle rodeos and those type of events, and I think that's been helpful. It's growing, let's put it that way. It's a program that I think is really shown its rewards because you have to take away a lot of apprehension from the parents more than anything else. And once they see it's not bad and it works.
Has anybody ever shared personal success stories with you? Or have you heard about them through the schools at all? With kids that got involved in the program and it changed them somehow?
Not personally, I don't remember, but I'm sure there has been.
Well, one example that about the benefits of the program that I think relates to your question is that a school in Woodbridge started a walking school bus last year when we started working with them. And the concept behind that is just that there's an organized group of students who walk to school together and leave at the same time every day. So instead of getting on a bus together, they walk together and pick up students along the way at stops in the neighborhood. And this school, Ross Street School in Woodbridge, was very interested in this program because they had a large apartment complex that was a good walking distance from school. Some of those students tended to be unruly on the bus, and they thought this was a way for them to get some energy out, some exercise, and to have a supervised physical activity before the start of the school day.
And who organizes the walking school bus program? Is that something the kids just put together on their own, or?
That's something that we do. We help them organize that in partnership with the parent volunteers and the school principal, bringing the parent volunteers, PTA together. And in the case of Woodbridge, the township also assisted in providing some staff time to help organize and walk with the kids.
Well, Woodbridge was interesting also because there was several hundred kids who got involved, and the local YMCA had bright green T-shirts for the kids to wear. And that was interesting. And we also have a banner that we have with the kids at the front of the bus have the sign. They walk in front, they say walking school bus, and everybody files in behind them. So it's actually, when you see the long row of people, with that number of people that day, you couldn't really have that many people cross the street at the same time or the traffic would never move in Woodbridge. So they actually had the police department making stops and doing it. It was really a well-coordinated effort. It was a lot of fun. It really was. It was a nice day too, and the mayor was there to kick it all off. It was good.
What does Keep Middlesex Moving give the communities to get started, Bill?
The services of Peter Bilton more than anything else, but we also have different programs where kids have the bookmarks. They have different programs that we can give them ideas if they want to map out a walk safe plan how they can map a route out. He'll work on that. It's basically the brainstorming, going to the PTA meetings and going to the principals and talking to them and letting them run with it.
Yeah, it's letting them know about it and helping them do the planning. One of the things we like to do, and we do with most communities when we start working with them, or in an individual school, is we survey the students just with a hand-raised survey about how they get to school. So we get a picture of what they're doing right now and send a survey home to the parents to find out what their attitudes are about even the idea of walking to school. And that gives us a place to start in terms of educating the parents and learning more about that school community. And then we work with them step by step. And as Bill said, we have some giveaways like bookmarks and reflective stickers and bicycle helmets and things like that that we can provide for special events.
Does KMM go into the school and do this, or is this something that's done through the schools themselves, through the nurses and instructors, the teachers?
We do it in conjunction with the school champion usually. In some cases it may be a school nurse, in some cases it may be the principal, in some cases it may be an introduction from the municipality. But we work hand in hand in the school.
Every school is different, every plan is a little different, and every community is obviously different. And I think we just try to adapt the program that works best. Not everybody has a school that you can walk to, but like Peter said, some of the schools in some of the cities, maybe the kids just want to walk around the block. They don't have to actually walk to school. There could be a set aside half hour during the day to let the kids just walk around the block with the teachers, and that gives them the exercise.
Is this just a school year program over the months that the kids are in school, or is this something that can run all year round?
It's mostly a school year program to encourage kids to do that, but they do have bicycle rodeos in the summertime and stuff, and Peter works with the police department with bicycle rodeos.
Mm-hmm. And this goes kindergarten through graduation, or primarily in the middle schools?
Up to elementary school.
Up to elementary?
Up through elementary school.
Yeah, the program is eligible to work through K through 8 grades, but primarily in the lower grades, and we work with walking to school, and then in the older grades you get more potentially into bicycling education, bicycle rodeo, and teaching bicycle safety tips for the older students.
You know, years ago parents didn't worry about their kids playing outside, but today there's so much that goes on that is frightening when you're a parent thinking about your kids being out there. Have you had any resistance from any parents that insist on driving their kids to school because they feel that keeps them safer, or being on the school bus, you know, because it keeps them safer? And how do you deal with that?
Well, I think that is our biggest issue. That absolutely is the biggest issue. How do you deal with it? Well, I guess you could statistically show them it's probably safer for them to walk to school than to be getting picked up at the school where there's cars and buses going all kinds of different directions. The low crime rate in most of our communities doesn't make it that dangerous. The stranger danger is always an issue. The air pollution around schools is usually bad because the parents sit in the cars. Woodbridge Township passed an anti-idling ordinance at the schools to stop people from sitting in their cars for a half hour with the heat or the air conditioning running. So I think that really is the biggest issue. I mean, I think when you talk about all the positives that we think we can provide, there's an awful lot of people who just don't want to hear about it because of the different fears that they have. And our goal is to try and encourage people that if the kids walk together as a group, the safety factor is increased by that much.
Safety in numbers.
Safety in numbers.
Have there been? I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead.
I think it really is about a culture change, about starting small and changing people's minds. We hear anecdotally all the time when Bill and I talk to people around the county that parents aren't going to be interested because of concerns about crime, because of concerns about traffic, and just wanting that control over knowing where their children are at all times. Most of the programs that we do or that we encourage are supervised. So there is that to take into consideration. For example, a walking group to school would have a small number of volunteers that would accompany and supervise the children on the walk to school. But really, most of the people we talk to are supportive because those are the people who come to us. Those are the people we can reach out to, who we can get a good response and start working together to start change that culture within that school. And really, the principals are a key partner for us when we work with the principals who are most interested and who really get that having a more physically active student body is better for academically, and it's better for the students in the long run. And
for the parents at home who may be wondering, over the 25 years that this program has been in existence.
Actually, it hasn't.
KMM.
Yes,
so how long has this program been going on?
Well, I guess it's been going on a national level for about 10 years, right? 10 or 11 years?
That's right.
But our program at KMM has really taken off over the last 2 years. So it's still fairly new. The state's been doing it for a while, but the state on a statewide level, it was very difficult. So they passed it on to local TMAs like us to try and carry it out, and they've seen much greater success.
And in the couple of years that it's been going on around here, have there been any incidents?
No.
Not that we've heard of, no.
No, nothing. There's never been anybody come back and said it didn't work or whatever the problem was. The parents who were involved and the schools that were involved were all very happy at the end of the day.
You know, we've been talking a lot about walking. What about biking? Do you have anything to do with that as well?
I'll let you have that one too, Peter.
You know,
We do a lot
biking
with
is a good, healthy activity.
We do a lot with biking. We actually, before we work with the Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital with their brain, I guess you call it the head trauma unit, with bicycle helmets. We work on bicycling with all kinds of different issues about bicycle safety. Peter's certified for bicycle safety. We do inspections. We do bike rodeos, all those type of things.
You know, bicycling is a tougher nut to crack because it's easier and more commonplace to teach a child the right way to cross the street safely than it is. It's just not a normal thing to teach children the best way to ride in the street, and that's something they get as they get older, and they might never learn in a structured way the right way. One way to teach that is through a bicycle rodeo, and towns have been doing this in Middlesex County and around the state for years, and we're starting to do that so we can get more of them out there in the communities that are interested. A bicycle rodeo is a bicycle safety course that's set up off-road, usually in a school or municipal parking lot, where kids can come with their bikes, run through the course, and learn some different skills on bicycle control and rules of the road, and at the end they get recognition for that. And we also provide free helmets for some of the events for kids who don't have them, which is another valuable part of our grant.
And beyond the kids, I mean, bicycling is also an adult activity too. And
can adults do the bicycle rodeo?
No, they can't do the bicycle rodeo, but they can ride on the bike paths that we encourage. The new Greenway in Middlesex County is really being very active. New Brunswick is going to be closing a couple streets down in the fall for cyclovia for bicyclists. So we promote bicycling at all kinds of different levels for adults and with kids. Obviously, construction of bike paths is important. New Brunswick itself is becoming new bike routes all through New Brunswick, especially attaching Rutgers University to the city. So bike routes are really a growing type of thing. New Jersey passed I guess it's a law, whatever it is, they call it Complete Streets Policy, where any construction work on any of the state roads from now on will have sidewalks and bicycle paths included with it, because the plan is to encourage that alternative transportation. And one final thing about bicycles, which I think is important, is we talk about the exercise value, but there are literally thousands of people who live in our area who need bicycles as their only form of transportation. So bicycle safety is a very important part. I mean, go to any restaurant in East Brunswick and you'll see bicycles chained to the back door and back gate, because you know it's going to be an issue that bicycles are necessary. People can't afford cars, and they're lower income people. So we want to make sure bicycle safety is a very important part of everybody's life.
What is it that you do with municipalities that have very few sidewalks or very busy streets? How do you get around that?
Well, that's a problem. Some of the rural areas. I mean, some of the towns really just don't have the ability to do this, or the schools. I mean, there's towns that now build brand new schools, or they're expanding their schools, but they're not even in an area that you can walk to. They put a school out in the middle of a farm someplace that goes miles from anything. They have to bus. So there's ways. I think what Peter said about changing the culture is so important, that people have to start thinking ahead about how they're going to be constructing things. The smart growth initiatives in the state is to have houses closer together and have the shopping centers built real close, so you don't have to get in your car every time you go someplace. We are a cul-de-sac village in New Jersey.
And the students benefit from the traffic safety lessons, learning about how to cross the street, learning about how to bicycle safety. They benefit from that, whether they get it in a school environment. That's something that they can take back home for when they're in their neighborhoods, walking around their neighborhoods, or walking around and bicycling around on vacation and other places too.
I suppose this would also be true for communities where a lot of the kids walk to school anyway.
Yes.
So they can get a lot out of this program regardless.
We have some very, very, very much walkable communities in Middlesex County. I mean, some of the towns almost everybody walks to school.
In the minute or two we have left, can you share with our viewers what you feel would be some of the biggest mistakes that kids make walking to school and some of the biggest mistakes that kids make when they're riding their bikes? What can parents be aware of to be sure to teach their kids to be able to help them walk and ride more safely?
I'll let you go. There's a lot.
Let's see. Yeah, there's so many things. I think that making a conscious effort to teach children about the rules of the road and about where to cross at the corners and not in the middle of the street, about how the traffic signals work, is just very important, and you should do that at an early age. When Rutgers University worked with the New Jersey Department of Transportation to start a Safe Routes to School program at an urban community in North Jersey, they found that students actually crossed the street safer when they weren't with their parents. Because when they were with their parents, they would just do whatever the parents did, and the parents were in jaywalking or walking unsafely. So it's teaching the children and teaching the parents at the same time. Bicycling for students, helmet use is very important. Riding predictably is very important. And these are things that can be taught, but that just aren't part of a school physical education program. And they could be part of that or part of other community programs offered, say, through our recreation department.
And you also remember back to our childhood, crosses the green, not in between. I mean,
that's right.
We all knew that, you know what I mean? You don't see that much anymore on the media or anything else, but it's basic left, right, left before you cross the street.
How does Keep Middlesex Moving measure the impact that they're making within the county?
Well, we have reports that we have to send in all the time. We have marketing reports that we send out. We do surveys. We do lots of surveys. We're asked to do surveys by some companies. It's Johnson & Johnson I'm talking about. That's next week. We're doing a survey of all their employees about how they get to work. Do they carpool? And they're going to be providing more incentives for employees to share a ride. Our outreach is actually meeting with people and getting the numbers of people who are interested in what we're doing. We can tell how many kids are walking to school based upon what they tell us. Mm-hmm. So we're trying. And the carpools, we know what people matching with carpools. We know how many transit guides people are using. We know we rent bike lockers around the county to different communities that have bike lockers. So we know they're booked all the time. So we think we're making an impact that way.
This is a young program. As Bill said, we've really ramped up our efforts with new funding from the Department of Transportation within the last 2 years, and there's still new towns coming on board and just getting started. But as I said before, we do surveys of the parents and of the students at the beginning, and we're hoping that as we get going, we'll be conducting follow-up surveys to see how that travel behavior is changing, how the way students get to school is changing over time.
Thank you. You know, I've always said that youth is movement. And, you know, Bill Neary, Peter Bilton, thank you so much for the work that you do with Keep Middlesex Moving and for the impact that you have in East Brunswick and in the county for helping it be a healthier place in which to live.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you.
This concludes another segment of the East Brunswick Advisory Health Council's Wellness Spotlight. I'm Dr. Ken Friedman here with Bill Neary and Peter Bilton, reminding you that wellness works when you work it.